The king crown and the poor boy of England. Long ago, in the heart of England, there stood a great kingdom ruled by King Edward III. His palace rose high above the city of London, near the calm waters of the River Thames. The palace was filled with gold, silk curtains, and shining crowns. Guards protected every gate, and servants followed every order. King Edward was powerful and respected, but deep inside, he felt lonely. He ruled the country with laws and orders, yet he rarely spoke to common people. Over time, he began to wonder, do my people truly live in peace, or do they only fear my crown? Far away from the palace, in a narrow street of London, lived a poor boy named Thomas. He was only 13 years old. His father had died in a factory accident, and his mother worked long hours washing clothes for rich families. Thomas helped her by selling newspapers and polishing shoes near the marketplace. Their house was small and cold. In winter, the wind passed through broken walls. But Thomas had something greater than wealth, hope. Every night, he read old books he found near shops and dreamed of a better future. I want to learn, Thomas once said to his mother. Education will change my life. One morning, King Edward decided to leave the palace in disguise. He wore simple clothes like a common man and walked through the streets of London. He wanted to see England with his own eyes, not through royal reports. As he walked near the market, he saw a thin boy polishing shoes carefully. The boy worked honestly, his hands cold, but his face calm. The king stopped. "Boy," he said kindly, "how much for polishing my shoes?" "Just 2 pennies, sir," Thomas replied. As Thomas worked, the king watched him closely. "You work very hard," the king said. "Yes, sir," Thomas answered. "Hard work keeps hunger away." The king asked, "Do you go to school?" Thomas shook his head. "No, sir. But I read books at night. One day, I want to become a teacher." The king was surprised. "A teacher? Why not a rich man?" Thomas smiled softly. "Knowledge is richer than gold." Those words struck the king's heart like thunder. The king paid Thomas more than needed and walked away, but his mind stayed with the boy. That night, King Edward could not sleep. The poor boy's words echoed in his mind. Knowledge is richer than gold. The next day, the king returned to the market. Thomas was there again, helping an old man carry a basket. "Good morning, sir," Thomas said cheerfully. Before the king could reply, royal guards arrived suddenly and bowed. "Your Majesty," they said loudly. Thomas froze. His face turned pale. You are the King of England," he whispered. "Yes," the king replied gently. Thomas fell to his knees. "Forgive me, Your Majesty. I spoke freely." King Edward lifted him up. "Never apologize for honesty." People gathered around in shock. The king spoke loudly, "This boy has taught me more than my advisors ever did." He ordered food, warm clothes, and medicine for poor families in the area. Then he turned to Thomas. "Would you like to study in the royal school?" the king asked. Thomas looked at his mother, tears in his eyes. "Only if my mother is safe. She will be cared for," the king promised. Thomas entered the palace, not as a servant, but as a student. Years passed. Thomas studied history, language, and leadership. He learned about England's struggles, its wars, and its people. But he never forgot the streets where he grew up. Often, he advised the king, "Your Majesty, laws must protect the weak, not only the strong." The king listened. Factories were made safer. Child labor was reduced. Schools were opened for poor children. England slowly became fairer. One winter, King Edward fell seriously ill. He called Thomas to his bedside. "My son," the king said weakly, "you understand the people. Promise me you will always listen to them." Thomas held the king's hand. I promise. After the king's death, the council chose Thomas as an advisor to the next ruler. Some nobles objected. He is poor-born, they said. But the people supported him. His heart is royal, they replied. Thomas became known as the voice of the poor. Under his guidance, England grew stronger, not only in power, but in kindness. Years later, Thomas opened a school near the same market where he once polished shoes. Above the door, a sign read, "Knowledge builds kingdoms." When children asked him, "Sir, how did a poor boy change England?" Thomas smiled and said, "A king once listened, and that changed everything." Moral of the story: a true king listens to his people, and true wealth is found in knowledge, kindness, and humility.